Hello folks, and welcome to this video on drawing a causal loop diagram in Stella Architect. I have Stella open and I've just double clicked. The stuff over here, the model settings, are not going to matter because I'm just drawing a causal loop diagram. I'm going to go to the left, I'm going to go up to File, I'm going to click on File, and it says New CLD, and I'm going to click on New CLD. CLD is for causal loop diagram. And you can see the icons on top have changed. And in the newer version of Stella, you can put in the stocks and the flows into a causal loop diagram. And I'm going to do it that way first. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to left click with my mouse on my stock. And I'm just going to come down and click on this white space. And I'm going to double click to open that up so I can call it population. I think I'm building the model or the causal loop diagram of the population. I've clicked. I can grab this. I like having my variable names in the middle of my stocks. You can see that there's some gray space here. And this is work area also, but I have to draw or drag my variable into it. And then it opens up all that workspace for me. And I'll just center this. And so the only thing, even though this is a causal loop diagram and it's not part of your simulation, and it doesn't matter the way you drew them on the board. If you're going to use a stock, only inflows and outflows can increase or decrease stocks. So I can't connect a variable to this. It has to be through a flow. So I'm going to go up to the flow variable. And I know that my inflow should be a byflow. I'm doing a net change in bursts. So I'm going to go down and click on the byflow. And I use my left mouse clicker. I'm going to go to the left of this. I'm going to click once and hold down my left mouse key and drag it. And I want to make sure I'm right on top. And you can see how the population is highlighted. I'm going to let go. And then I'm going to name this net change in population. I'm going to click right in front of the in and hit a return because I'd like to square this up. And because I picked a byflow, you can see the arrowhead going into population is solid, which means if it's a positive number, it's flowing this way into the population. And if my net change happens to be negative, it's going to flow to the left. And it's got the arrowhead that has dots around it. So that would be the negative direction. So I've drawn that. I'm going to go up and add some of the constants I have in this. I'm going to click on the variable. I'm going to click down below and I'm going to call this carrying capacity. I had to think about how to spell capacity. So it goes. I've clicked right in front of capacity and hit a return to square that up. And you might have a circle around your variable name. It depends how you've set up the default in Stella. And for me, I like just having the variable names. I don't like having those icons, those circular icons to start out with is all. But that's just a personal preference. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to go up to the top left and click on variable again. I'm going to click in the middle, and I'm going to call this the ratio of population to carrying capacity. And that variable is in there. And I know I just want one other variable, and I'll add that in now. And it's going to be my normal birth rate. I'm going to leave that. And now I'm going to add my connectors. So I've gone up to the top left, and I have clicked on my connector, or this arrow. And I'm going to be certain that I'm on top of population. I'm going to click with my left mouse key and hold down, and I'm going to drag it to the ratio of the population to the carrying capacity. I'm going to go back up and click on it again, and I'm going to click on the carrying capacity and drag it and go to the ratio of population to carrying capacity. And then the way we drew it on the board is that ratio was going to the net change. The normal birth rate was going to the net change. And I actually need people to make more people, so I need to connect the population stock to that net change is what's occurring. And now I have all of these. I can grab on this variable name and slide it around so that it's on top. And now I have my basic structure. I have some feedback loops. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to right-click on this, and if let's see, oh, right in here, there's a couple of ways of doing this, but I have just clicked and selected that connector. And the rule of thumb is I'm going to ask if my population increases, if the tail increases, what happens to the variable at the head? And this is population to carrying capacity. So imagine it's a ratio. I'm dividing population by carrying capacity. Population increase, this ratio would increase. This is going to be a plus link. So I'm going to click on the positive, and yeah, it's showing up there. I like to make these a little bit larger. So I think I can go with 24 for this. And I have the chance to put it on the just above, so I can move this, or I could put it on the inside also. So we can adjust this. We could also put it in the middle of the arc, just if the variables start to get clustered, like they are up here. These arrowheads are coming together. So I put a link in. It's going to be a positive link. So I'm going to do the same thing for carrying capacity, and if carrying capacity increases, it is in the denominator. So the denominator gets bigger, the ratio gets smaller, it's going to be a negative link. So I'm going to go up and click on negative. And I like to make the negatives much bigger. I think I'm going to go with 36. And again, I'll put that in the middle. So I'm going to go down in the middle of arc. And there we go. So I've got my plus and my minus signs. And now I need it to do for the others. So I'm going to go to my normal birth rate. I'm going to click on that. And if the normal birth rate increased, all other things being held constant, my net change in population would increase. It's going to be a plus. And I will put it, let me put this one at the stem. I'm going to go down to the settings. I'm going to increase this to 24. You can see that. If my population increased, my net change in population would increase. If I had more people, all other things being held constant, I would anticipate that I'm going to have more people on average. So it's a positive link. So I'm going to select this. It's going to be plus. Let's put it on the inside, and I'm going to make this 24 also. I think I would like to put it on this link here. I think I'm going to put it on the outside. So I'm just clicking over here where it says middle of arc. I'm going to put it outside of arc. And there we go. And the last variable I have to, or link to add, is going to be the ratio of population to carrying capacity. As this increases, what's going to happen is my net population is going to decrease. And the idea or the concept here is that I start to approach my carrying capacity. There's not going to be as much room or food or whatever, and my population is going to start to be constrained. And this is going to be a negative link. So I've clicked on that to select it. I'm going to click on the negative sign. It is crowded up here, so I'm going to put it in the outside in the middle of the arc. I'm going to go down and make this larger. I'm going to make it 36 in this case. So now I have these feedback loops. And now what I'm going to do, and it's before, I don't want to draw everything out, and it gets so complicated, and then I'm tracing these feedback loops to figure out what's going on. I want to add them relatively early. So I'm going to go up to the T on top. There's a little arrow to the right of the T, which will pull up this drop down, and I'm going to put a loop label in here. I've selected that. And let me put this in first. I'm just going to leave it blank right now because what I've noticed is if my population increases, my net population increases, but I don't have the plus sign here. So I'm going to click on this link, and I'm going to go down to the right-hand side, and it says Style Settings. I'm going to click on that, and up on top, I can put the plus sign. This one I can't change the font size because it's got to be the same font size as this variable name. So I'll just leave that at the plus. But what I see is this is a reinforcing feedback loop. So I'm going to go back to my loop connector, and then I'm going to go to my wrench down here and click on this. And this is going the right direction. It's going clockwise. I want to label this. I'm going to call it R1. And it's going to be in the inner text. And I might want, this is just going to be, I'm going to just call it growth loop. And this is also good practice in that I am naming my feedback loops. It's going to make it much easier for me to tell a story about this. So, and now I've selected this again, and I'm going over to the right, and it says select variables and connectors. I'm going to select that, and now I'm going to click on population. I'm going to click on the link from population to the net change in population, and then I'm going to click on the valve going back. It selects the variable name, and this is the feedback loop. Now I'm just going to double click on the right, and now if I hover over that growth loop, you can see that this is highlighted. So I'm noticing this isn't, I guess it's not fading out is what's occurring. So you can see the feedback loop there. Now I'm going to add the next feedback loop, and let's determine its polarity. Population. So if you recall, a feedback loop, if it has an odd number of negative signs, it's going to be a balancing feedback loop. I can see a plus, one minus, and then we're back to the pluses. So this is going to be a balancing feedback loop that's going to control things. I'm going to go up to the top. It's selected because I had it selected before, so I can click on my loop label. I can come down here. I'm going to label this in the inner text B1. Oh, I think I'm going to label it B1. Double click, it's there, B1. And I'm going to give it a loop name, and this is going to be my carrying capacity loop. Sort of a little bit long, but it will fit in there. There we go. And I can always grab this corner and make this a little larger if I want it. I think I'm good there. And now I have to do the same thing. I have selected this variable, and I'm going to go to select variable connectors over on the right, and now I'm going to select the variables and the links that are involved in this feedback loop. I'll start with population again, and then it's going to this link. I'll select that, and you can see how it's highlighted a little bit more. I'm going to click on the ratio. I'm going to click on the link going from the ratio to the net population, and then I am going to click on that net population, and there is that feedback loop. And now I can double click on the white space. It's going back to normal, and now if I hover, everything else is going to be grayed out, and I'm only going to see the feedback loop associated with this loop identifier. And I can go to R1 and do that. And I want to keep this short. I know your models are going to be much larger. I know the model that I built with Dr. Brent is much larger. But I want to keep it simple and short. I think I've showed you all the tools. I'll show you one more thing while we're at it. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to work. And I'm just going to call this test variable. And I'll click on my connector. And this should not allow me to connect to my population. Yeah, you can see that it's not allowing it to connect. I'm going to try it one more time. It gave me a message. These variables are incompatible types is what it's telling me. And what it is only flows can make stocks go up or down. And because I've added the stock, I'm going to have to include these flows in here. And you could stop now. You would be good to go if you wanted to use these stocks and flows. Hopefully this doesn't confuse you. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow this up. I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to select my flow and hit delete. And now I'm just going to add variables in. And I'm going to have a population variable. Not even going to call it variable. I'm just going to call population. And I'm going to click on the variable, and this is going to be the net change in population. So I can also do this so it's sort of a pure causal loop diagram. So my population is going to connect, and I'm going to go up and click on my connector again, and it's going to be population to the net change. And then from my net change is going to influence my population. The other thing that's going on here, if you recall, it's a net flow. The way I'm catching my population is also going to influence my net change. And the last connector is going to be from the net births to that net change. And if I drag this around, yeah, I like to have curves because I think we're following feedback loops and I want to be able to follow the curve. I have clicked on my net population. I'm going to click right in front of the in, hit a return, and that's going to square this up. And I have to add some links again. So I know population to the ratio is a plus. I'm going to right click on that. I can go down to polarity here. Let's see. Or I can select it in here. So I'll go with the positive. I'm going to make it 24, and I will put it on the outside. This ratio population carrying capacity going up to the net change, if you recall, is negative. I'm going to click on that, and I will select the negative sign. I will tell it to be 36 so that it shows up. And let me just drop it down a little bit. So, oops. Oh, so maybe you are going to want to save on a regular basis. I'm telling it to reopen. And yes, it's still got what I had before. And we're in the same place. I haven't saved this. This is still a new model. I'm going to go in and save this now. So I've gone up to File. I'm going to hit Save. And I'm going to call this CLD for video. Click on my desktop. I'm going to go to 390, and I know I've kept all the materials for what Dr. Brent and I did in my reference modes. I'm going to click Save, and now it's saved. So yeah, just a warning. I still have the plus sign, but it's not large. I lost the minus sign when it crashed. So let me click on this link again. Tell it to be 24. Drag this down, 24. I'm going to put this just at the head. I'll leave it there. I'm going to click on this link. This is going to be minus. I'm going to make it 36 so that it shows up. I'll pull it just off that head a little bit. If the net change increases, then my population is going to increase, all other things being held constant. This is sort of the flow in. And so it's going to be a plus. And put that there and make it 24. If my population increases, all other things being held constant, then the net change in population is going to increase. I'll click on that link. It's going to be positive. I'll click on the plus. I'll make it 24. I'll pull it just off the head of that. And I think I have all my links identified. I can grab and move this and put it up in that feedback loop. But now when I hover above it, it seems as though my growth loop has lost stuff. It's not turning gray. So I'm going to click on the select variables again. And then I'm going to click on the ones that are part of this feedback loop, the variables and the links. And there I go. If I double click and hover on that, there it is. And now the only variable that was showing up previously is going to be my ratio. So if I click on select variables and connectors, this is highlighted, and I can click on this link, this variable, this link, and now the variable population, and then from population to the ratio. And now if I double click on the white space, if I hover over these, you can see that the feedback loop has been selected. And you know, the normal birth rate is actually exogenous. I say I haven't put the plus sign on that. I'll do that. So I am going to left click on that line, left clicking on positive. I'm going to put it back a little bit and make it 24. And I think that's it. I think I'm going to stop here. And all I have to do, I can select this variable and hit delete. That was my test from before. And now you've seen two ways to be drawing these causal loop diagrams. One's with the stocks and flows. You'll be doing that when you build formal models. And then this is the causal loop diagram. Both are correct. We're using these to tell a story. We're identifying the feedback loops at this point and what the important variables are. And I'd imagine if I had this population growth that it's S-shaped. And what that means is I got a reinforcing loop that would be generating the S-shaped or the exponential growth in the beginning. And then as I'm reaching my carrying capacity, the balancing loop is going to kick in and it's going to end up limiting how many people I can have, and that's going to be goal seeking. And the combination of that exponential growth and the goal seeking is what's giving me that S-shaped order logistics growth. That's it. If you have questions when you guys are doing this, if you're stuck in the software, it's not about the software. You should feel free to call or text me. If I'm available, I will answer immediately. I can answer most software questions off the top of my head. I think I'm the most familiar with the software, so you'll want to reach out to me first. So that's it. Good luck, and I'll see you in class.